We had been together for 3 years. Not perfectly, not always peacefully, but it was real. I thought I knew her. I knew how she twisted her hair when she was nervous, how she frowned when she couldn't find the right word. I knew how much sugar she put in her coffee. I knew how she went silent when something was wrong. But I didn't know the most important thing. It all started on a Friday. I woke up, like always, checked my phone. Notifications, nothing unusual. Among them, a message on Instagram from my girlfriend's friend. We were never close. Just talked a few times when we met in group settings. Her name was Mila. The message was short. I'm sorry, but you deserve to know the truth. At first I thought it was a joke. Then, a mistake. But then came the screenshots, the photos, the chats, and a voice message. I couldn't believe it. It was too much. In the photos, my girlfriend. With someone else. At a club, in a car, at home. Hugs, kisses, and the dates, while we were still together. While I thought she was just staying late at work. While I was buying her flowers and texting that I missed her. I sat in bed, holding my phone, and everything inside me tightened. My hands were shaking. It felt like my body knew before my mind. Like something had snapped. I didn't respond right away. Not because I didn't want to. I just couldn't. I kept rereading everything over and over, trying to find some loophole, that it was fake, a mistake. But it was all too real. Mila messaged again. I kept quiet because I didn't want to get involved. But she crossed the line. You don't deserve this. And the only thing echoing in my head was, you don't deserve this. But somehow, that was the most painful part to hear. Because I really believed I did deserve it. Deserved her. Deserved us. Deserved the love we were building. Turns out, I was building it alone. I sat in the same position for a long time. My phone had died ages ago, and I hadn't even noticed. The air in the room felt frozen, just like me. It was hard to breathe, not physically, but in a deeper, heavier way. It felt like something had broken. Not on the outside, but inside. And if I moved even slightly, everything would shatter. But eventually, I stood up. I went to the kitchen, poured myself some water, sat down, stared at the black screen of my phone as if waiting for it to decide something for me. Like maybe I'd wake up, and the message wouldn't exist. Like maybe she'd walk in with coffee, just like always, and say, "Morning, sleepyhead," and everything would fall back into place. But the phone stayed silent. I knew what I had to do, even if I didn't want to, because silence was killing me more than any words could. I texted her, "Just, can you talk?" She replied quickly, "Yeah, of course. Is something wrong?" That "is something wrong" made my blood boil. How could she ask that when the whole world was falling apart? But I didn't lash out. I called her. She picked up. Her voice was normal, soft, calm. "Hey," she said. "Did something happen?" I was quiet for a few seconds, listening to her breathe. And then I asked, "Did you cheat on me?" Silence. A few seconds. Just enough time for my heart to clench into a fist. "What? Where did you hear that?" Not "no." Not "what are you talking about?" But "where?" And I knew. She already knew what this was about. I told her Mila had messaged me. Told her I had proof. She sighed. "It happened once. I was drunk. I don't know what came over me. That was supposed to calm me down. Once, not a pattern. Drunk, not in control. But I had already seen the dates. And the photos. It wasn't once. Don't lie to me," I said. "I know it went on for months." She fell silent again, then started explaining how she felt lonely, how I was distant, how she missed affection. I was listening, but I wasn't really hearing. Because in my head, one thought screamed louder than anything else. I didn't deserve this. I wasn't perfect, but I was loyal. I showed up. I planned a future. I brought her favorite tea when she was sick. I remembered dates. I wrote her poems, even though I was embarrassed. I loved her, not just in words, but in actions. And somehow, that still wasn't enough. I interrupted her. "Don't give me excuses. I know everything. I'm sorry. Too late." And I hung up. Just like that. No drama. No final words. For the first time in 3 years, I chose silence. And it was more honest than any "I'm sorry" she could have said. The first days after the call felt like black cotton. Like I was alive, but not inside myself. Everything around me became muted. Sounds, smells, colors. Even the sun felt foreign. It shone, but it didn't warm. I didn't leave the house for 2 days. I just lay there. Sometimes I'd fall asleep, without dreams. Sometimes I'd wake up, without the will to move. My phone was silent. She didn't write. Neither did I. Not out of pride. But because there was nothing left to say, because everything had already been said, when I finally forced myself to get up, the first thing I noticed, her mug. The one she always used for green tea with lemon. It sat there on the kitchen shelf, as if nothing had happened. I stared at it, and my chest tightened. On the kitchen table, her note. Don't forget to buy avocados. A silly detail, but it stabbed like a knife. Because I did buy them. Even when I didn't understand what she liked about them so much. I started seeing her everywhere. In the blanket she used to wrap herself in the book on the nightstand, in the shadow near the window where she'd stand in the mornings, sipping coffee in silence. But most of all, in the silence. The silence I once craved was now unbearable, because in it echoed everything. Her voice, her laughter, her sighs, even her anger. I walked around the apartment like it was a museum of her presence. Everything reminded me. Everything irritated me. Everything hurt. I tried to get rid of it. I packed her things in a box and shoved it in the closet. Deleted her photos from my phone. Even blocked her account. But memory, it doesn't come with a delete button. It sneaks up on you when you least expect it. One evening, I tried to call. Not her. A friend. I wanted to talk. To say, I feel like shit. I lost her. And I lost myself with her. But when he answered, I just said, yeah, all good. How about you? Because who wants to look weak? Who wants to open up again, after being thrown away? That night, I sat by the window. No music. No lights. Just the city. Watching the lights live their own life. And I thought, is she laughing right now? Holding him? Sleeping with him? And that thought hit harder than anything else. But then I noticed, I was still breathing. My heart was still beating. I was still here. And maybe, just maybe, there was still something left inside me. Even after all of it. It wasn't healing. Just a crack in the darkness. But through that crack, the first light came in. A week had passed. For the first time, I went outside again. Not to run errands, just to walk. I had no plan. I just wanted to keep walking until the pain let go. But it walked beside me, like a shadow, and I was learning how to live with it. The city felt familiar, but I looked at it differently. We used to walk these streets together, laughing, holding hands, arguing over where to get coffee. Now it was just me. And it stung, but it didn't break me. It felt honest. I walked into a little cafe we used to visit. Sat in a corner. Ordered a coffee. For the first time, not for two. Just for myself. And when the waitress asked, will someone else be joining you? I just shook my head. It was a strange moment. Like I had lost something enormous. And yet somehow found myself. Not a new self, but the one I had left somewhere between her smile and waiting for her messages. I looked out the window, drank my coffee, and thought, I still exist. There's still someone who can feel me. At least me. At home, I heard the silence again. But this time, not as an enemy, but as a space. A space where I could finally speak to myself. I pulled out an old notebook. From my student days. It had lyrics, silly poems, thoughts after late-night walks. I used to write. A lot. And then I stopped. Because there's no time. Because someone's waiting. Because you have to live in the real world. I opened to a blank page and simply wrote, I was betrayed, but I'm still here. I didn't disappear. I didn't fall apart. I'm not who I was. But maybe I'm closer to myself than ever before. And in that moment I felt it. I wasn't broken. I was changed, but not destroyed. I started writing every day. Not for anyone. Not for likes or validation. Just to release everything that pressed on my chest. I wrote about the pain, the anger, the unfairness. But between the lines, something else started appearing. Silence, calm, even gratitude. Because I survived. And maybe I had learned not to trust blindly, but to listen to myself. Sometimes I still want to text her, tell her how I'm doing, ask how she is. But every time I reach for my phone, I remember that morning, that message. And I know I don't want to go back there. Even if I miss her, I don't want revenge. I don't wish her harm. I just want to live, without her, but with myself. This isn't a story about becoming stronger. It's a story about allowing myself to be weak, and still not disappearing in that weakness. Because real strength is saying it hurts, and still standing up, alone, and taking a step. It happened when I least expected it. I hadn't thought about her for a few days, at least not consciously. I didn't look for her in strangers' faces on the street, didn't check if she popped up in anyone's stories. I was just living, slowly, quietly, with pauses, but living. I was on my way home from a walk. The air was cool, but not cold. Autumn had settled on my shoulders, but it wasn't heavy. And then, a notification. Her name. The same one I had blocked. She messaged from a different account. Just, "Can I say something?" I stood still on the sidewalk. Around me, people, cars, noise. But inside, silence again. The same silence where it all began. I could have ignored it. Could have deleted it. But I didn't do either. I just stared at the screen for a long time. At home, I finally opened the chat. There was a new message. "I'm sorry. I don't want anything back. I just want you to know, I understand what I lost. And it hurts. A lot." I kept reading it over and over. And I didn't know what I felt. I used to dream of hearing something like that. For her to finally see what I meant. For her to feel regret. To want to come back. But now, I didn't feel victory. I didn't feel relief. Just emptiness. Not the kind inside me, but the one between us. The kind that can't be filled anymore. I replied, "I'm glad you understand. But I'm no longer who I was. And I'm no longer where I was." She didn't respond for a long time. Then, "You show up in my dreams. Often, but maybe not to return. Maybe just to let go." It was honest. And strangely, kind. Because we were talking like people again. Without illusions. Without resentment. I didn't ask if she was still with him. Didn't tell her how hard it was to get out of bed. I just thanked her. And closed the chat. Because I no longer lived in the past. Not in her. I had already come back to myself. That evening, I opened my notebook again. And I wrote, "I once lived for her. Then, through her. And now, despite her. But for the first time, I live for myself." And that's the truest healing. I don't know what comes next. If I'll meet someone. If I'll trust again. But I do know this. I'm no longer afraid to be with myself. In silence. In truth. Without her. Because she is part of my path. But she is not the destination.